And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. This is Coffee Talk, and you can find me on YouTube at Coffee Talk Live or Prepper University, as well as at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Fistful of Radio. That is fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. Or if you catch me on Coffee Talk or Prep University on YouTube, that would be 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we do the live portion and people sign in and chime in. And if I have the time, and I usually do, I read as many comments as I can so that people who are listening and not able to see can keep up with the conversation. And I'll go ahead and call off a few of the people here that have signed in so far or acknowledged so far. I see Helter is here, Dragon, Gary Smith, Boogers is here, Deanna Martin is here. As people are starting to pop in, I know it takes a little bit of a drag from time to time because of ScrewTube and the ads that they run at the very beginning of this, so that I can get 2 cents. I think that's about what it adds up to, but that's okay. I see you, Ragnar Thorshammer is here. Fluke Man, Donna Beaver. He says he's from extreme North Georgia, or she says she's from extreme North Georgia. Monkey is here as we get ready to get rolling. I've got Miss Granny Smith snuggled up on the floor here. I showed that earlier. I don't know if you saw it. There she is. Knocked out, all curled up, keeping me company. The only cat in the room at the moment. The others are all hiding because there was a lot of noise outside, and you know how that is. Urban Angst is here today. As we get ready to dive into the news, that's right, we will have a discussion about the news and or some of the things that are going on in the world today. Some things you may have seen, some things maybe not, but that's all right. We'll sort it out. We'll sort it out here shortly, and I will throw it out there. Thumbs up, please. Rumor has it, it helps with the algorithm. I don't believe that for a minute, but I appreciate it. So thumbs up if you don't mind. Then I see Preparedness Veteran has joined us here today, as well as Stefan Riley. Stefan Riley has made it as we get ready. Yeah, Preparedness's cat didn't look impressed. Well, she's out cold. So she's sleeping right now. That's why she looks like that. As we get ready to jump in here, and we'll start off with everybody's favorite uncle. Dear old, sweet old, lovable, old, squeezable, old, Charmin Uncle Joe. Lovely little Uncle Joe. Sweet old, wouldn't hurt a fly, Uncle Joe. Can't string a sentence together, Uncle Joe. And I see Bob, 67, has joined us. Thanks for popping in today, Bob. And this comes from GB News. It says, Joe Biden left bumbling on stage as he struggles to pronounce tech firm's name in awkward speech. Joe Biden. Joe Biden struggled to pronounce a tech company's name while speaking to a crowd of CEOs during a conference. I can't imagine. Because he can barely see those movie screen sized, like specialized custom teleprompters that he's reading off of anyways. No one else has a problem, but Joe can't see it. The president fumbled as he tried to read out a list of tech companies as he addressed top bosses at the Asia Pacific Economic Corporation Summit in San Francisco. Anybody watch that speech? It's hard to sit through. He struggled with the name of one company before eventually giving up. The 80-year-old said, here in this world-renowned hub of innovation, so many tech companies like Anthropic, and I'm going to mispronounce. I'm not even going to try. It's better not to try and not print it and not mispronounce than to try and mispronounce. Okay, the president smiled as he tried to continue his speech with audience members laughing over the gaffe. He continued, the point is, small and medium-sized businesses and startups are getting into action as well. Sure they are. The president has become well known for his frequent gaffes whilst speaking publicly. It's because he can't even read the teleprompter. He doesn't rehearse. He can't see. I'm sure he can't see. He looks like he's squinting all the time anyways. He probably has contacts. He probably needs glasses, won't wear them because it would make him look old. Don't you think glasses would make him look old? So he's got to keep the contacts in, I'm sure. I see that Sigma has joined us, as well as Prime Mover. He says Biden is our most bestest president with 81 million votes. I know. And Frankie says, hola, hola. Oh, he's talking to Ragnar Thorshammer. Okay. Hi, everybody. Hold on a minute as I bounce around. Dragon says the measure of a man is not his occasional confusion, but his consistent dedication and commitment to his duties. And Sven says fiddling while the nation's infrastructure burns. Cruising said the looking old ship has sailed. Helter says he's most likely faking the whole I'm fragile, curmudgeonly old man persona. Again, I've talked about that plenty of times. There is the possibility, because these celebrity politicians, they're all actors. They're all actors, and many of them in high-ranking positions have taken acting lessons. It is possible. It is possible that it all could be an act to give him plausible deniability. I see Moki is here. And then Fluke Man says, Creepy Joe wouldn't hurt a fly, but he allows children health care, male and female changing rooms, and many other effed up things. I'm being sarcastic when I say he wouldn't hurt a fly, by the way. I'm sure he would. He probably pins them down with sewing needles and pulls their wings off. A little hobby of his, just something to keep him busy. As we move along here, I just wanted to throw that out. The gaffes are just hilarious. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and of course, that is Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, and stripping down the police department. This was interesting. This is the New York Post, because they're going to be talking a lot about this. New York Police Department to have only 29,000 cops by 2025 due to new New York City budget cuts. Now, some months ago, I was doing some research on this for a video. Not this particular story, but on New York City Police. And the New York City Police Department, all in, was about 50,000. So now they're saying there's going to be 29,000. That's a 21,000 person difference. That is interesting. That is really interesting. Frankie says, I'm sure he's faking being fragile with all that coke he carries around. Oh, that's his son's. Oh, we're not allowed to talk about that. Booger says, you guys see the little riot that happened right in front of the DNC headquarters in D.C. by the pro-Palestinian people. I did hear about that. And something went off at the headquarters of Fox News, I think, too. They pushed their way into the lobby or something. Preparedness says, saw some of that speech. It was embarrassing, makes a mockery of not only the whole country, but the political system, too. Well, that's been going on for a while. That kind of like people, the media and the people having a lack of respect for the office of the sitting president started with Clinton, started with Bill Clinton. So New York City Police is going to cut down to 29,000. Thanks, Eric. The New York City police force will be reduced to just 29,000 cops by the end of fiscal year 2025, the lowest level since the mid-90s, amid a slew of citywide budget cuts revealed by Mayor Eric Adams Thursday, as the Big Apple grapples with its multi-billion-dollar migrant crisis. Under City Hall's newly unveiled, updated 2023 financial plan, the next 5 police academy classes will be axed. Essentially, decimating an already strained department as roughly 4,500 officers are expected to leave their ranks within the next 18 months. Firefighters are also in the firing line, with FDNY members who are on long-term light duties, meaning they've been injured on the job or are out sick, being forced into early retirement or fired under the plan. The next 5 police academy classes will be axed under the new Fed. A line of well, it skipped. Excuse me. Let me find my spot. I hate when they do that. The next 5 police academy classes will be axed under the new financial plan. President of the FDNY union, Andrew Ansbro, slammed the sweeping budget reductions, arguing the Adams administration should have taken a different approach with the life-saving agencies like the FDNY and the NYPD, which could really affect safety in New York City. Especially the fire department is not something that should be messed with. And they're messed with constantly. Because I'm all the time seeing, or often enough anyways, high-ranking union officials stealing from their funds, particularly the fire department. They're always getting pilfered by their union. I really hate seeing firefighters getting screwed with. Our job being dangerous, we have a lot of members who are getting physically injured. Now they're being pushed out of the door to early retirement when they have a lot to offer. They're cutting back on people who really help the safety of FDNY and residents of New York City, he added. In total, New York Police Department's budget of $5.6 billion will be cut by $132 million next fiscal year, with the axing of new academy classes over the next year and half, clawing back roughly $42 million. That's incredible. And that's really low. Well, defund the police. What are you going to do? That's the direction that they're heading in. Deanna says, is that why he sniffs kiddos? He thinks it's Coca-Cola. No, it's entirely something else, unfortunately, Deanna, I'm sure. Sven says the grapists and the blue helmets are coming. Several congressmen said they would go home and protect their families if they came. Well, New York looks like you are first. Well, they'll put the National Guard. Again, the National Guard's already in the streets in New York. They're already out there, but they're acting as glorified social workers. They're out there doing paperwork for immigrants, keeping track of all these migrants and finding them positions in shelters and getting them doing the work of a social worker, essentially, which is disgraceful. That is not what people signed on for when they joined the National Guard in the first place. And then if they have to do their jobs for real, they're going to be out of practice. I mean, the National Guard's already sloppy anyways. I bet half of them couldn't pass a couldn't pass a physical if they had to. Helter says, so basically he screwed up, blamed everyone but himself, and now he's making everyone but himself take the brunt of these consequences, but yet his fixed 6-figure salary is still being paid on time. Yes, it is. He's not going to miss a check, and he's under investigation. You're talking about Mayor Adams, I imagine. He's under investigation from the FBI for corruption. He's had several people that are attached to him arrested or investigated, or warrants for their homes and offices searched. Adams is a mess. He's a mess, and it reflects. And rather than take bold steps with their so-called migrant crisis, they're going to slash money out of programs that the city actually needs. The city actually needs. Frankie says they're cutting funding to the New York Police Department and the fire department, but how much of his salary is going to increase? He could vote himself a salary because he's working really hard trying to figure out where the money needs to go so that he can help the migrants. He's trying to make himself look really desperate here so that he can ask for more federal money because, hey, it's tax money after all. I mean, there's no limit to it, right? They just raise it and pay off whatever. It's completely irresponsible. You all know how I feel about taxes and the way that it's spent. I mean, I get it. certain things need to be paid for, but they're not getting taken care of because we're putting the money everywhere else. If it was only being spent on roads, if it was only being spent on the fire department and so on, I could suck it up. But that's only a fraction of the tax money that gets spent. And the rest of it goes to all kinds of bullshit programs. It goes to things that you wouldn't want money to be attached to. It goes overseas to countries that don't need our money, or they shouldn't be getting it anyways. It's too much. It's too much, and it doesn't stop. And it's taxation again without representation, which allegedly our country is founded on, is resisting that. I can't tell. I can't tell because it's still being misrepresented. Armored says National Guard exists to guard DC from unarmed Americans who dare to speak. Yeah, I know. They had 24,000 of them out there during the inauguration. And Cyberjack Sr. made it. Glad you could pop in today. Talking about Mayor Adams. Mayor Adams. Oh, and I should have linked this to the other story. But it's never too late, is it? I should have linked this to the other story because once again, we're going to slip back to the resident in thief, Joe Biden. We're going to talk about him again here really quick. Frankie says exactly, it's spent on BS instead of what we actually need, road infrastructure, so on and so forth. And Dragon says, this one is only the first cut of 3 that's coming in the coming months. 15% cuts, 5% in November, 5% in January, 5% in early spring. But we're going to go back to Nap Time Joe here really quickly. And this comes from Mediaite. Mediaite is the source on this one. Just in, Biden not expected to be charged in the special counsel investigation over classified documents. Forgot all about that, didn't you? About the classified documents charge. He had boxes of documents stocked up in his garage and all kinds of BS. Who forgot that? I didn't, but I know a lot of people did because news cascades in so quickly. And yeah, that's a great shot they put up to go with this story because it looks like he's being smug right there. And here you go. President Joe Biden is not expected to be charged in special counsel Robert Hur's investigation into his handling of classified documents, according to a report from CNN. Will Trump continue to be investigated for it? Or are they going to overturn that too, since his documents weren't exactly classified, the ones they took from Mar-a-Lago? The special counsel will not charge anyone in connection to the years-long investigation into the handling of documents at 2 locations connected to Biden. However, the report will be critical of the president along with his staff for their handling of sensitive national security information. Well, good. I'm glad they're at least going to be critical in the report, even if they're going to shelf it. Naughty, naughty Biden. Shouldn't have handled it that way. Don't do it again. We won't charge you. Hur's team is currently compiling the report, which is expected to go into detail about the findings of the special counsel's investigation. Wasted tax dollars on a counsel to do nothing. Although CNN notes the timeline could change, the report is expected to be finished by the end of the year. It'll run over. The special counsel was appointed nearly a year ago after classified documents from Biden's time as vice president to President Barack Obama were found in his former D.C. office as well as at his home in Wilmington, Delaware. Supporters of former President Donald Trump have used the special counsel's investigation to draw similarities with Jack Smith's criminal prosecution of Trump in Florida. I just said that. Over the summer, Smith brought criminal charges against a Republican frontrunner for his handling of classified material at his Mar-a-Lago estate after leaving office. However, unlike in the Biden case, the National Archives requested documents back from Trump, but failed to receive a response to their request. The FBI pursued a search warrant for his Florida country club to retrieve the documents. Meanwhile, Biden's legal counsel notified the National Archives of the documents upon their discovery and returned them. Yeah, whatever. Whatever. Let's see here. A couple more comments and we'll catch up. Fluke Man says Joe is acting. His plan is to lure U.S. enemies into false sense of security. If they cross the line, he's going to put on his tight superhero costume and do his Superman thing. I can't unsee it now. Yeah, I know. He's got his tights on underneath his suit. Dragon says, I imagine it will go like the investigation of Mike Pence and his documents. No charges because they gave them back. Yeah, just like that. No charges will be filed, but they'll use some strong words in their findings if you can find them, because it'll probably be like 13,000 pages of just spaghetti crap that doesn't make any sense unless you're super lawyer. Strong wording somewhere in a document somewhere. No charges, nobody cares. But who thought he was going to get charged? And if he did, would anything come of it? Not bloody likely. Not bloody likely. Sven says the problem is Trump possessed the material legally, but Biden did not. Correct. He did possess it legally, but they still are trying to make something out of it. The stuff that he had, it's not really classified in that sense. It's not anything he's not allowed to be in possession of. And Armored wants to know what motivated Coffee Talk to live in different states over the years. Well, I started off in Massachusetts and I moved out of Massachusetts because it was too damn expensive. And I ended up in Kansas. And then because of my getting married, I left Kansas and I was in South Carolina for a little while. And then, or in Illinois first. I moved to Illinois, and that was primarily for her job because she had been offered a job as a yard manager for Union Pacific, which is a huge job. So I didn't have roots in Kansas, and I was no longer working for juvenile justice, so I didn't care. And I was in South Carolina for a little while, and now we're in Georgia, just moving around. Cost of living here is a lot better, though. Kansas wasn't bad either, cost of living wise. Kansas wasn't bad either. So yeah, I've been bounced around a little bit, lived in a few different places. Massachusetts was insanely expensive. So was Illinois. And both of those places, the laws are very restrictive. Kansas and Georgia and South Carolina are a lot looser. Helter says some people are arguing Trump should be absolved from the Mar-a-Lago estate case since Biden is being let off the hook for this. Yeah, but there's a double standard there because of who's in office right now. Who's in office right now? And speaking of the border, I know nobody spoke about the border, but you can't not think about the border when you're dealing with Biden because a lot of this is his fault. Fox News article, thousands of Chinese national gotaways at the southern border since October 1st. Now, we've already talked about this. Not this particular story, but we've talked about it because between, I think it was, and I might be off a little bit, I believe it was between 2007 to the start of the Biden administration, less than 20,000 Chinese nationals tried to cross the border, the southern border. So in all those years, only less than 20,000. However, since the start of the Biden administration to about a month ago when we talked about this, more than 24,000 crossed just in that 2-year span. Now it's increased again just in a month, as you're going to see here. It says thousands of Chinese nationals have hit the southern border since the beginning of the fiscal year, along with hundreds of Afghans and other nationalities, while there have been thousands of gotaways who have evaded the Border Patrol as the U.S. tackles a migrant crisis that is global in scope and has renewed national security concerns. Customs and Border Protection sources told Fox News that since October 1st, there were over 6,500 Chinese national encounters at the U.S.-Mexico border, along with over 700 Afghans. Now, think about that. Before October, from the beginning of Biden's presidency, when he cracked open the border, to September, they had 24,000 encounters. And that was the most that had ever come across the, you're talking about 12,000 a year for almost 2 years. Okay. As opposed to less than 20,000 in nearly 20 years or 15. Then all of a sudden, in a month, in the month of October, 6,500 more. That is something to be concerned about. It says there were over 140 encounters from Syria and 80 from Iran and 1,500 from Uzbekistan. Meanwhile, for the month of October, there was an average of just over 1,000 gotaways a day, meaning migrants who evaded Border Patrol apprehension, but who were caught on alternative forms of detection. So the gotaways aren't even counted in that 6,500 number. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told lawmakers earlier this month that there had been approximately 600,000 gotaways in the fiscal year 2023. 600,000 gotaways so far this year. There was more than 249,000 migrant encounters in October. And this is just the southern border, not the northern border. And the arrival of migrants not only from countries in the Western Hemisphere, but also from China, a top geopolitical foe of the U.S., as well as special interest countries in the Middle East. In other words, countries where people are not supposed to be allowed into the U.S., but they are now under the Biden administration, and elsewhere have raised concerns about the potential national security threat that could be arriving in the wake of the terror attack on Israel. DHS said that it is and always will work tirelessly to screen, vet, and prevent anyone who poses a threat from entering the country, and says that those screening efforts include biographic and biometric screening. But they haven't been doing it because they've been ordered not to. That's how, you might remember about a month ago also the article that we discussed, 74,000 special interest aliens were allowed into the country. And a special interest alien, of course, is an alien that is suspected of being a terrorist, a criminal, something like that, but they were still let in. Our multi-layered border security efforts include various screening and vetting processes that work to detect and prevent individuals who pose national security or public safety risks from entering the United States, an official said. But you're still not doing it. And only just recently, in the last few weeks, Texas has been cracking down on it by going against the grain of the federal government and making their own state laws opposing federal mandates. And there you go. There you go. And Gary says, hit the like button, folks. Yes, indeed. Please do. I appreciate it. I appreciate it if you do. Let me see here. Prime Mover says you don't need guns to invade a country with open borders. No, you don't. You can find a gun later if you need to, or some dynamite. Deanna says, is video sharing not okay, or was it something else to cause a warning against the channel? What do you mean? In what regard? A video I did, or a link, or what was it? Helter says, these illegal migration routes are incredibly organized. Someone has been putting in the work and making a lot of money. Immigration is a business. That is true. And Keisha is joining us. Says, sorry I'm late. No problem, Keisha. Just talking about Chinese migrants again, because it has jumped again, because they have had, just in the month of October, another 6,500 that they have caught. Never mind the gotaways of Chinese migrants coming across the border. That's a huge chunk for 1 month. That's a huge chunk. That's 25% of how many Chinese migrants have come across the border in the last 2 years. Because it was more than 24,000 in 2 years under the Biden administration. And now all of a sudden in 1 month, 65 that we know of. And again, and I keep emphasizing on it, before Biden, from like I want to say, and I could be wrong, from 2007 all the way up to Biden taking office, it was less than 20,000 Chinese migrants trying to cross the southern border. And that's just the ones that were caught. Gotaways, as they call them. God only knows. No freaking idea. Oh, Deanna says the video with the teen boy killed by other teens. It could be. It could be that that because I shared that video, that could be why I got a strike on that video. Semper Fi says, stay safe. It's only going to get worse. No kidding. No kidding. And Loyal says, Texas is just saying one thing and doing another. They're allowing it. I've seen numerous live videos of hundreds of all nationalities being allowed in right now. Not too many Mexicans, though. And Flukeman says, Chinese customs only allow people to leave with 20,000 yuan, 2,000 pounds sterling, 27,700 US dollars. If Chinese nationals want to leave China without informing the government, the amount of bribery is high. And then Mars has joined us today. Glad you could make it, Mars. Just now discussing Chinese nationals cutting across our border. And then they land deep in South America. And the South American governments now, oh, she moved to the chair. There's, for those of you who can see, there's Miss Granny Smith moved up to the chair now. But these South American governments now are starting to charge a fee for landing in the country because they know what you're going to do and they know they can get you. And then Urban says, rivers of migrants, rivers of pro-Palestine marchers. Indeed, as they pour across our border. And there's not much we can do about it. Not much we can do about it. And Semper says, you're 100% about the numbers of Chinese. When I was working with DHS, our facility had maybe 5 out of a population of 500. 90% from south of the border or Jamaica. Yeah, and that's totally flipped now. They're pouring across the border. They're not Mexicans anymore. It's not people from south of the border hardly anymore. They're coming from everywhere else, and it's frightening. It's frightening. You put too much into the soup. I know they like to call America the great melting pot, but you put too much into that pot, and it kills the flavor. Your culture is just gone, and you see this all over Europe. Those independent nations in Europe, their cultures are dead. What semblance there is of their cultures is just bullshit for tourists. Their actual true heritage is being crushed. Is being crushed by the constant influx of migrants from all over the world. Mars says, off topic, I heard in the news there'll be a new strain of sickness coming in the holiday season. Many people are blaming illegal immigrants. Well, I mean, I don't know if they're going to, I know the media won't blame them. The media won't blame them, but yeah, you've got people coming from different cultures who don't have the same bathing habits, don't have the same sanitary habits. This is why you've seen in many major cities, something that's come up a few times in the past here, Paris, London, New York, San Francisco, a huge rise in bed bugs. Even in public places, you could be on the subway and get bed bugs. It's crazy, but that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem. And it's also part of that lack of adaptability. They're bringing their problems with them and their culture with them and expecting you to change for them instead of the other way around, like with immigrants who come to a country that want to be part of that country. They want to come there and leech off of the country and force that country to accept their ways and beliefs and traits. And it's a problem. It's a huge problem. Now, this is something you might not have seen this story. This is something I thought was interesting. Wanted to throw this out there really quickly and to discuss it quickly. And that was the Washington Post. Washington Post has this article, and it's talking about dogs. One more comment here. Loyal says, my Mexican friends are worried about their jobs. Already food delivery apps are being inundated with illegal immigrants in New York, much less available work for those that want jobs. And Keisha says, we have a bed bug check in my apartment building every year. I'm clean so far, thank God. That's scary. And Fluke Man says, haven't heard any Californians protest against illegals, nothing like New York. Guess California has more land and it's not as noticeable. Well, it's not so much that, it's just that they're so mired in bullshit as it is. They don't know what to complain about. I mean, it's already screwed. They got homeless everywhere anyways. They got drug addicts wandering aimlessly in the streets anyways. They've got excrement on the roads anyways. They've got random fires from homeless encampments anyways. What's one more problem? I mean, can you even find the problem anymore? California is a dystopian nightmare. But this article is about North Korea. Or, excuse me, South Korea. It says South Korea will unveil plan to ban dog meat by 2027 because, yes, believe it or not, they eat dogs. I know a lot of people know that, but the media doesn't like to talk about it. And there are a handful of Asian countries that do this. It says Seoul. South Korea is planning to introduce a ban on dog meat consumption by the end of this year, Seoul authorities said Friday. So black market dog meat, folks, it's coming. Eating dog meat is neither explicitly prohibited nor legalized in South Korea, and successive governments have failed to make progress on pledges to stop the practice. Public and political momentum to outlaw dog meat has been growing in the country as the centuries-old practice has fallen out of favor with most young Koreans. It has also attracted international criticism from international rights activists because God knows they can't worry about their own damn country. They have to go bother someone else. The ruling People Power Party, the ruling People Power Party on Friday laid out a timetable for action. We are planning to enact a special act to ban dog meat within this year to address this issue as soon as possible, said ruling party lawmaker Yu Dong after a meeting at Parliament attended by the Agriculture Ministry officials and animal rights groups. South Korea considers ban on eating of dog meat as pet ownership grows in the country. The special act will allow a 3-year-old period to phase out the industry. If the bill passes the legislature before the year end, the dog meat ban would come into full effect in 2027. The law will require dog farms, slaughterers, traders, and restaurants to each submit a phase-out plan to local authorities. We will provide full support to farmers, butchers, and other businesses facing closure or transition due to this law, Yu said, adding that compensation will be limited to legally registered businesses that submit the plan. Yoon Suk-yeol, the president, and First Lady Kim Kyon, are known as animal lovers, having 6 dogs and 5 cats. Kim attended an animal rights event in August and said that dog meat consumption should come to an end in an era when humans and pets coexist as friends. And I don't know anybody who's ever watched this being done or seen video of it, seen how they manage this. I'm not targeting South Korea specifically. I know this happens all across different parts of the Asian continent. Okay. But their practices with those dogs is absolutely gruesome. I mean, there are places where they chop them up alive. It's really horrible. So I'm glad to see that, actually. Catching up a few of these comments here. Dragon says the only people who still eat dog meat are the elderly who consumed it at a point in time when they were limited food resources. Younger generations don't eat dog meat. Frankie says the problem is Newsom. Yeah, Newsom is not helping. Governor Nuisance Semper says, when I was in South Korea in 96, there was a cooking show on TV showing how to prepare fresh dog meat from live dogs. It was horrible. Exactly. Yeah, I don't even want to describe it. Sven says, trade your pets with your neighbors before you eat them. This keeps the emotions out of dinner. Oh, no. Yeah, you've been reading The Art of War, haven't you? And the warden is here. He says the ruling people power party. That's the most Nazi shit you can name it. Yeah. Ruling people power party. And you got to put your pinky under your chin and you have to laugh maniacally. You have to laugh like Sid Haig when you say that. The ruling people power party. And then you have to set somebody on fire. Preparedness is, I can imagine, some of the other creatures that are eaten, including cats in South Korea. I read they have over 17,000 dog farms, big industry that'll not go quietly. Yeah, and they're only going to help the legal farms. Paul Burke is here. He says, late again. Well, that's all right. Glad you could make it. As well as Bingo popping in and Eric Peter. He says, cruelty to animals is something I can't deal with. I have zero sympathy for such barbaric actions. But yeah, like I said, they work with them alive. There's no like, let's put them down. I mean, the practices of how industrial farms slaughter animals and kill them, especially hogs, is gruesome enough. The way they deal with it is just terrifying. And Sven says they blanch small animals alive. Yeah, it's really disgusting the way that they handle the dogs and cats as well, and other animals that most humans and most of the rest of the world, not just the Western world, view in a completely different way than animals that are commonly eaten. And Paul says Z bugs are coming. Well, there's been warnings about oh God, the flu is back and it's stronger than ever, and all sorts of crap like that. And it's just trying to get you to go out and get a damn flu shot. They want you to go out and get a C virus shot, this shot and that shot, and they want you to get a shingles shot, and they want you to get they just want you full of needles, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely unacceptable. I don't trust any of that stuff. That's not something that I would ever do. I don't trust inoculations. I don't trust vaccinations. I can't tell you what to do, but I do encourage you to look into it very carefully if you intend to. And Mars says, I have to admit it's disturbing that they didn't call this out sooner. And Paul says he means to eat. Oh, I see. Yeah, bugs. Yeah, they want you to eat bugs. We talked about that with I did a video about that actually directly about how they've been disguising powdered insect in protein to put into the consumer market. And Keisha made a $2 donation to the channel. Thank you, Keisha. Very much appreciated. Always goes towards helping the strays that we work with. You see Miss Granny Smith here taking a nap. For those of you who can't see, I know some people are just listening. And Deanna says, seeing ads for getting both flu and C shot at the same time, what could go wrong? No kidding. It says, if you've already got your flu shot scheduled, you can get your C virus shot at the same time. And I have to be careful about how I say it. I always say C virus because if I say the whole thing, I get a strike because they don't like me. Paul says he didn't have the shot. Good for you, Paul. I don't trust that. I don't trust that. I don't blame you. Again, I had a couple of standard childhood inoculations in the early 70s. I think I'm one of the last generation to get a smallpox, but I probably have less than 5 things on my shot record, all before like 1972. And I'm fine. I rarely get sick. I have had the flu, I think twice in my lifetime. and you feel crappy for a couple of days, and then you get over it. What are you gonna? I really just don't trust it. I don't like that nowadays. They want, before you're even 2 years old, you get 24 to 30 inoculations. That's scary. That is scary. Urban says in the Matrix, all those tubes in the bot capsule were for vaccines? Question mark. Could be. And Mars says, wait, the powdered insects, is that kind of sweet candy or something? No, it's they grind up crickets for the protein, and they're disguising it by using. You got to read your labels really careful. There's certain products that they've been putting this into, and they use the technical names for the insects. So if you see like anthropic protein or something, you don't know what they're talking about. It instead of just telling you what it is, we have ground up grubs or something like that. And there's certain insects, again, when you're dealing with crickets, they have intestinal parasites that are actually dangerous to humans. Farmed crickets, as opposed to one you might catch out in the yard, can have intestinal parasites that are dangerous. And also the endoskeleton and wing attachments and things like that have been linked to certain types of cancer and other problems, intestinal problems. But yeah, go ahead and eat that. And Raccoon says, if you say Ashita in the ingredients list, that's cricket flour. Exactly. Thank you. I couldn't think of the name off the top of my head. Urban says deep fried tarantula eyeballs. There you go. Savage says, I hope everyone here has made efforts to grow or raise some of your own food. I garden and raise chickens and bunnies. Absolutely, Savage. And thanks for bringing that up. Because we have our own garden going, and I got fruit trees and things like that. And I know a lot of people live in apartments, and it's not so easy. But do the best you can, even if you have to put a window box, even if you're just growing something small in your kitchen that you have contained. Do the best that you can, even just to experiment with the idea. Savage says he refused the C9 jabbity jab, never trusted it. Modern medicine is a scam, a bit of a scam. It's a huge scam. A patient cured is a customer lost. Exactly. Raccoon says carmine is also bugs. They use it for red food coloring. And they don't need to, because you can use beet juice for red food coloring. Keisha says he uses crickets for fishing bait, or she uses, excuse me. Paul says they're giving children at schools in America crisps made from crickets. I saw a film clip. Tell your kids not to eat that shit. And 500 Magnum is here. Glad you could make it. Fluke Man says, why aren't vegans protesting insect rights? They're living creatures too, are they not? Good point. Because they're hypocrites, that's why. Vegan activists are as much hypocrites as anyone else. A vegan, I mean to say an activist. Remember, an activist's job is to pretend to be outraged about something because they profit from it. And Sven says, I heard if you have shellfish allergy, it could kill you. Of course, the chitin will cause tiny cuts. And Max says, holy crap, I didn't know that. Now I'm really going to watch what I eat. Always, please. And if you hear a lot of noise, there's some construction going on down the way here, and I bet you it's going to get louder. And one more, Yesta said, shouldn't be on prescription pills, drugs, or unhealthy food, having babies anyways. Exactly. Again, avoid medications. I have to say I recommend that. I can't tell you what to do, but avoid prescription medications, even over-the-counter medications. Be very careful. Watch what you eat. Read the ingredients. Try to be as organic as possible. Grow your own food if you can. On and on and on. Exercise every day. Take care of yourself, honestly. And Bingo's got to go. Well, glad you could make it, Bingo. Thanks for chiming in. As we get on to this, I'm going to show you something here. And this is on News One. And I'm going to show you a video clip. And on this video clip, when it comes up, I'm waiting for it to load properly. I'm going to have to turn off the sound. And I'm going to turn the sound off because of copyright infringement. but I will tell you what they're listening to. I don't know exactly what they're listening to, but I'll give you the basic idea. And News One is talking about a kids' party video that went viral. I'll read another comment here real quick because Cruising says they have a question. Question about the cats. Any tips for where to take a rescued litter for care? My vet tried to hit me with $100 per kitten just to look at them without any care. Wow. We're partnered with a local shelter, and it's actually a dog shelter. They don't take cats. So if I find any dogs, it goes to them, and it's Halo House that helps us out. I hope everybody can hear me okay because there's a lot of noise outside. But it's Halo House that helps us, and they helped us to get vouchers for spaying and neutering and things like that. So I would check with a local shelter and tell them that you'll do the legwork, but is there a free clinic? Is there anything any advice they can give you to help out? But this is a kid's birthday party, and I'm going to go ahead and open this up now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're all going to hell. We're all going to hell. We are. Viral video of kids' party with guns, cash, and explicit music leaves viewers stunned. Viral video of an apparent birthday party for children left viewers stunned by the damning imagery included in the footage, especially little kids who were posturing with what we hope are replica guns and fake cash. My understanding is, after reading this article, the firearms in this video are real. I could be wrong, but this is what I've heard. Perhaps even more alarming is how two of the children in particular, appearing to be among the youngest in the video, are seen dancing and rapping explicit lyrics along with the song No Smoke by Youngboy, Never Broke Again. This is the video here, and I'm going to play the clip for you. Yeah, 500 says we're already there. Yeah, we are done. And yes, Sada wants to know if I've ever heard of Darlene Green. I don't know who that is. I do not know who that is. Oh, are you trying to screw me up here, YouTube? Okay, here we go. I'm going to play this clip. Everybody can see this okay? Again, I cannot play the audio because of the music copyrights. But it's really nasty, explicit lyrics that these little kids who look like their age range from like 2 to 5, and they have cash on the table, and there's firearms on the table, and what looks like, I don't know, I can't even tell you. I'm going to go ahead and kill the sound. Get that. I'm trying to get that to expand so that you can see. See that okay? Here's your kid's party. There you go. Way to teach your kids. Although I'll give him credit for trigger control because he didn't have his finger in the trigger. Now he does. All right, never mind. And there's what looks like champagne on the table. This is what we're raising our children to do. Nice going. I'll run it. I'll play it again. If it'll play again. Hold on a second. Let me run it back because I know it's skipped. There we are. Come on. Pain in the butt. Now it doesn't work. There we go. No smoke, no smoke. Shut that sound off. This is what you want your kids doing, right? Look at them grinding on the table. And you wonder why young children are looting, rioting, beating people up, shoplifting, mugging people, not learning anything in school. They're not learning anything in school anyways. And this looks like this background. It looks like a Chuck E. Cheese or something. Not a Chuck E. Cheese. Who is that? That looks really familiar, that background. It's one of those like play space places that rent out like birthday party spots. Savage says we're all going to hell. Heh, I could have told you that. Yeah, I know. Savage says, or 500 Magnum, slaves to the system. Raccoon Eye says the father nods in approval. No kidding. Moki says ghetto people. And Mara says very sad indeed, horrible indoctrination at its finest. And that's exactly what it is. They're being indoctrinated into a system. This is what I'm referring to when I talk about generational curses. These are adults, and these adults know, they know deep inside this is wrong. And that they're training their children to be monsters. And that with each generation, it's going to get worse. Each generation, it's going to get worse. This is heartbreaking because these kids, under better circumstances, have potential like any child. Even if they know, they don't have to be the next president. They don't have to be an astronaut. They don't have to be a football player, whatever. Even just a good person. A good person with a normal job and a healthy relationship to keep them happy. But no, this is what they think is going to be normal. This is how they're going to grow up. They're going to grow up wanting to shoot people and steal money. And God knows, I don't even know where to go. Sven says, I'm going to heaven. Follow me if you want to live forever. See what I did there. Yeah. The warden says promotional video for Bidenomics. Gary says, looks like the adults were after some sort of cred. Monkey says those kids already have a reservation for prison. And then Preparedness says, shows you the mentality of the parents grooming them for gang culture. They're sure good at breeding. The mothers are not there. And that's the thing, too. That's the thing that's really sad about this. Is they are grooming them, but then they're going to turn around when those kids are bad, when those kids get hurt, when those kids hurt someone else, and it's everyone else's fault. It's the system's fault. It's the media's fault. They were good kids. They were getting good grades. They were on their way. Yeah, they were on their way. This is those parents' fault. No matter what's going on in the world, no matter what shitty music is out there, this is music these kids should not even be listening to. They shouldn't be listening to that. Explicit language. How old is that kid on the left? They shouldn't be listening to that. But is someone forcing these parents to let them listen to that? It's like my old argument about smoking. Don't tell your children not to smoke if you do. Because you're setting the example. My kids never smoked. Never thought about it. Still don't. Because I never did. Well, Dad, you never smoked. You never drank. I don't want to either. The oldest boys, I don't know what's going on with my youngest because I've been out of contact with them, courtesy of the family again. But with the other boys, never drank, never smoked, never used narcotics because I set the example by living that way. Eric Peters says, Child Protective Services. I really wish the thug subculture of Black Americans would do better, but the account of so much of the violence in the country, I just don't know. Yeah, Child Protective isn't going to bother them. And it's not just them, but it is very prominent in their culture. Helter says they're setting those kids up for failure. Clearly, I feel bad for the kids because they don't have proper guidance. And Joey says the modern music that is promoted to degrade the youth. The music's disgusting. The music's absolutely, and I'm a fan of basic rap. Old school stuff. And I'm not locked in. And that's also part of the subculture is getting locked into. I got some albums here because I got a record player right here. Getting locked into a certain culture of music. So let's see. Grassroots. Yeah, it's vinyl records. Paul Revere and the Raiders. The original Fat Boys. De La Soul. Tough album to get. Don Ho's greatest hits. Yes, I listened to Don Ho. Sandy Nelson, the drums. Gene Autry's greatest hits. My tastes are all over the place. The Monkees. The Planets. Heavy metal soundtrack. But they're locked into believing that, oh, we can only listen to modern rap and hip hop, which is absolute trash now. It used to be about fun, having a good time. You know, that's all this is. Not anymore. Now it's just garbage. A couple more. I'm over here. I'm over the time, but that's all right. Joey says, I've seen multiple videos of black elementary teachers playing Sexy Red songs with the kids, singing along to lyrics about her booty. Very inappropriate. Raccoon says, damn, now I want pizza. Mars says, awesome vinyl collection, dude. Thank you. Like I said, my tastes are all over the place with that kind of stuff. And I have a record player here, and when I'm doing other stuff, I just spin some vinyl. My wife and I do that. We actually have over 1,000 albums. Mars says, agreed, I don't drink, smoke, or abuse drugs. My mother didn't drink, but my father indulged in alcohol and drugs. But luckily, my parents steered me in the right direction. That's good. And Cruising says, maybe these kids will grow up a little and have aversion to the behavior. It can happen, because I'm an example of that. My mother was a very dangerously abusive woman, very dangerous. And I grew up in a housing project. I rejected all that and moved on, because there is a point by which, no matter where you came from, you are the one making the decision. You can blame the past all you want. And true enough, if you're a child, you might be trapped in something. But when you're on your own, you're making the choices now. You can choose to stay in that culture, or you can move on. All you can do is pray that they're going to move on. Unfortunately, most of them will not. Most of them will not. Prime says, yep, we're coming a long way since Run DMC. Exactly. And couple more here. Cruising says, good rap is like good country. It tells a story and makes a point with great instrumentation behind the lyrics. Exactly. And Monkey says, record players are still to be sold to this day. Yeah, it's a very small niche now, but yeah, they're still out there. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. I'm over the limit, but that's all right, because we were still talking about this. And I will again say thank you to everybody who was able to join us here today. Again, this is Coffee Talk. You're listening to and or watching Coffee Talk at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube, or Prepper University on YouTube, as well as at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter, and also find me on Fistful of Radio. That is fistfulofradio.com. Podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. And thanks everybody who was able to join us here today. Hope you got something out of the conversation. Special thanks to Keisha, of course, for making a donation to the channel today. Much appreciated. And we'll pick up on this again, actually, on Monday, because I have some more to say about that. So until then, I hope you all have a good weekend.